I didn't know that night would rearrange the rest of my life. At the time it felt like one more moment I just needed to get through. One more thing to swallow and move past. But some nights don't ask for permission. They plant themselves quietly inside you and wait. It started with a phone call I almost ignored. I had already turned off the lights. My room was quiet in that heavy way it gets when you're alone with your thoughts but pretending you're tired enough not to listen to them. My phone buzzed on the bedside table. Unknown number. I frowned, rolled onto my side, and let it ring out. Then it buzzed again. I don't know why I answered. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe some part of me already knew. "Are you alone?" the woman asked. Her voice was steady, but there was something under it, like she was holding herself together with effort. "Yes," I said, sitting up, suddenly alert. There was a pause. Then she said my name. My stomach tightened. No one says your name like that unless the conversation is about to change you. She didn't rush. She didn't dramatize anything. She spoke carefully, as if choosing the right words mattered more than saying everything at once. She told me who she was. She told me why she was calling. And then she told me what I had been trying not to see for months. About him. About the lies that had been disguised as normalcy. About the things that happened when doors were closed and conversations were rerouted. I didn't interrupt her. I didn't ask questions. I didn't defend anyone. I just listened because something inside me recognized the truth immediately. That was the worst part. Not the shock but the familiarity. When the call ended, I stayed exactly where I was. The room felt smaller, like the walls had moved closer while I wasn't paying attention. I held my phone in my hand long after the screen went dark, as if it might explain what I was supposed to do next. I didn't cry that night. I didn't scream. I didn't call anyone for comfort. I just sat there, staring into the dark, replaying her words again and again. People think the hardest part is finding out the truth. It isn't. The hardest part is realizing you now have responsibility for it. I had spent years learning how to be quiet, how to smooth things over, how to keep the peace even when it meant swallowing my discomfort. Silence had always felt like safety to me. Silence meant fewer questions, fewer conflicts, fewer moments where I had to choose myself. But this silence was different. This one felt heavy. It pressed down on my chest when I tried to sleep, followed me into conversations. It made ordinary moments feel staged, like I was acting in a life that no longer fit. The next morning the world looked the same. People laughed. Traffic moved. Messages came in. And somehow that made everything worse. I kept thinking, how can everything continue like this when something so big has shifted? Days passed. Then weeks. I told myself I needed time. Time to think clearly. Time to be sure. Time to calm down. But if I'm honest, what I really needed was courage. And I didn't have it yet. I weighed every possible outcome. Who would be hurt? Who would deny it? Who would blame me? I imagined conversations going wrong. I imagined being misunderstood. I imagined losing people I loved. I asked myself the same question over and over. What if staying quiet causes less damage? That's how silence convinces you it's the moral choice. The truth lived inside me like a secret I couldn't set down. I started withdrawing without meaning to. I laughed less freely. I avoided certain conversations. I became careful in a way that made me feel older than I was. There were moments when I almost convinced myself to let it go, to pretend I never got that call, to fold the truth away and keep living as I had before. But every time I tried, something inside me resisted. The turning point came on an ordinary afternoon. I was standing in line at a store waiting to pay, when I caught my reflection in the glass. I looked tired. Not physically, emotionally. Like I was carrying something invisible but heavy. And suddenly I saw it clearly. I wasn't protecting anyone. I was disappearing. I had been so focused on avoiding disruption that I hadn't noticed how small my life had become. How much of myself I had edited out to keep things comfortable for everyone else. That realization scared me more than the truth ever had. That night I spoke. Not with confidence. Not with perfect words. My voice shook. My hands trembled. I paused more than once because my throat felt tight. The room went quiet in a way I will never forget. Not the peaceful kind of quiet. The stunned kind. The kind that arrives when something irreversible has just been said. Some people didn't believe me. Some people believed me but wished I had stayed silent. Some people pulled away without explanation. And some people, later privately, told me they were glad someone finally said it. The aftermath wasn't dramatic in the way movies make it look. There was no instant resolution. No neat ending. Just awkward conversations, strained relationships, and a lot of uncomfortable space. There were nights I lay awake wondering if I had done the wrong thing. Nights where I replayed every word I said, wishing I had been calmer, clearer, stronger. But something else happened too, something quieter but more important. Felt lighter. The tension in my chest slowly eased. I stopped second-guessing my instincts. I learned that peace built on silence isn't peace at all. It's postponement. And postponement always demands payment later. Years have passed since that night. The memory hasn't faded, but it no longer controls me. It taught me things I didn't know how to learn any other way. I learned that truth doesn't need permission to exist. I learned that timing matters, but so does self-respect. I learned that silence can protect, but it can also imprison. Most of all, I learned that finding your voice isn't about being loud. Sometimes it's just about refusing to disappear. That night changed everything, not because of what was revealed, but because of what I chose to do with it. If you were holding a truth that could change the room if you spoke it. If silence felt safer, but heavier every day. What do you think you would have done in my place? Forget not to subscribe, like, comment and share. Stay tuned for more.